If you haven't got problems, I feel bad for your son. I got 99 problems and a bitch ain't one.
Hello everybody, Donline Dude here, and welcome to my review of Amazing Spider-Man issue 700 and Avenging Spider-Man issue 15.1. If you are a Spider-Man fan, then you will likely know that Amazing is ending with issue 700. It is going to be replaced by Superior Spider-Man in 2013 as part of the Marvel Now initiative. Avenging Spider-Man 15.1 is essentially the epilogue to this, which in my opinion makes it required reading if you are going to buy issue 700. Finally, before I begin, I would just like to say that I'm going to be talking very much in depth about these comics, so there are going to be spoilers galore. First, let's start with Amazing issue 700. Issue 700 is the conclusion of the Dying Wish story arc, which saw longtime Spider-Foe Dr. Octopus launch his last desperate scheme upon Peter Parker before he succumbs to his debilitating illness. This scheme involved using one of his Octobots to switch minds with Peter Parker, leaving Peter trapped in Oc's body whilst Oc was free to cause chaos in Spider-Man's. However, Peter was able to use the Octobot to enact one of Doc Ock's master planner contingencies, which led to Peter being broken out of prison by Scorpion, Hydro Man, and the Trapster, and issue 700 is pretty much the showdown between Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus. There is definitely some fun to be had here. There's some pretty good action, a few jokes, and we get to see almost every supporting character in the Spider-Man mythos, including those that are dead. The floor is pretty much in Dan Slott's writing. Now, I don't hate Dan Slott. I mean, I'm certainly not going to send him a death threat. But certainly I think he could have handled this better. For starters, it's a wonder Ock hasn't been found out already, if not by MJ but by the Avengers. Ock in Peter's body doesn't sound like Peter at all. I mean, he's not even trying. And this is the man who claims to be intellectually superior to Peter. Superior Spider-Man? My arse. Another problem I have is with the scene in which Peter has a near-death experience and seemingly arrives in heaven. It's well written, but it feels out of place in this story. I also feel like it gives us false hope. From the way Slott writes this scene, you actually believe Spider-Man is going to accomplish something. Except he doesn't. He dies. He fails. And now we're stuck with Ock in Peter's body. Dan, for some fans, this is likely going to be tantamount to torture. Then there's Mary Jane. You know, this is a woman who was once upon a time married to Spider-Man. Don't even get me started on what I think of that. The woman who knows him better than anyone. His one true love. And she can't figure out that this is clearly not Peter. The last few pages of Dying Wish just feel rushed, and it makes me wonder why they bothered sticking the two short stories into the issue, as they're both completely superfluous. Okay, I think I've talked enough about the writing, now onto the artwork. The issue is penciled by Humberto Ramos, who has already worked with Slott on Big Time and Spider Island, to name a few. I'm not the biggest fan of Ramos, in all honesty. His crazy cartoonish style would be better suited for someone like Deadpool. I much prefer the grounded work of John Romita Jr. But I will concede that this is the best work Ramos has done. There's a definite sense of progression. Ramos feels more focused, and like I said, the action is pretty good. I still don't like the cartoonish features, though I suppose I can chalk that up to more of a nitpick. While there is definitely something to enjoy here, it's quite an anticlimax as far as the series finale is concerned, and pretty much a setup for Superior. And that's before you add the brain-shattering fact that Peter Parker has been killed off in a, quite frankly, bad way. I'm giving issue 700 of Amazing Spider-Man a 2 out of 5. Now let's move on to Avenging Spider-Man 15.1, which I actually have more praise for. This issue is written by Avenging's new regular, Christopher Yost, who currently writes Scarlet Spider, and he was also the story editor for Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Wow. Yost writes Doc Ock very similar to Slott at first, but starts to go in a different direction towards the end that actually makes Superior issue 1 interesting to me. Ock goes through an interesting character arc in this issue. He starts out the same as in issue 700, gloating over how he's killed Spider-Man and supposedly improving on his designs, whilst ridiculing the late Peter. Eventually, he returns to one of his old lairs to retrieve some materials, only to be attacked by his own security systems. He listens to a recording of his old self, and comes to the realization that, however much he gloats, however much he tries to say that Spider-Man is nothing compared to him, he always lost to Spider-Man. I like this because it's pretty much a backhanded compliment to Peter Parker. The issue ends with Ock suiting up in the new costume, declaring that he's seen his mistakes and now things are going to change. The new costume is actually good. It suits Ock's more aggressive personality, and while it's different, it still maintains the basic look of Spider-Man and is faithful to the original. Yost writes the issue well, even taking a moment to poke fun at the way Ock speaks. He also gives Mary Jane far more credit and respect than Dan Slott did by having Ott refer to her as dangerous. There are still a few problems I have though. Everyone around Peter still seems to be deliberately ignoring his change in personality. I would have liked to have seen Ott consider what would happen if he was found out and start taking steps to behave more like Peter when he's interacting with people. Hopefully we'll see this in Superior Spider-Man. The artist this time is Paco Medina. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I haven't seen any of his work before, but he does a decent job, and he draws the action sequence well. This issue makes things a lot more interesting, and actually takes strides towards improving Otto's character. I'm going to give Avenging Spider-Man 15.1 a 4 out of 5. Now, before I go, I'll say a quick word about Superior Spider-Man. I don't know what to expect from Slott's writing, but as long as the story progresses in a logical manner, yes, I'm really bringing logic into a world of superheroes, I can't complain. I'd give this series a year at best though. Ogg will have to pay for his crime eventually, and with Amazing Spider-Man 2 due for release in 2014, Marvel will likely want Peter back in the costume by then. And as a side note, I will begin using the Superior Spider-Man in my Marvel-ous reviews and Marvel-ous short videos. Just about when hell freezes over. Thank you for listening.
I got 99